So this is another episode of Totally Detailed, and we have a gentleman here today called Antony Dixey. Antony, introduce yourself and tell us about your company, its name, and where you're from, please.
So I'm Antony Dixey. My company is AD Valeting, Oxfordshire, based in Wantage in South Oxfordshire, and that's the main bulk of me.
So is that obviously? What sort of areas do you cover with what you do?
I try and keep myself to 25-mile radius or to max distance. Not so much a straight line, but travel distance. But I mean, basically where the work takes me is basically where I go. But try to keep myself a rule of thumb, small area, keep travel costs down if I can.
Yeah. It also helps, doesn't it? If you can sort of. I mean, it's a big area, so I mean, I know the area well.
Oh yes,
Berkshire originally, and I mean, you've got a good sort of catchment, sort of wealthy area there anyway. So I mean, there's really no need to sort of travel much further afield, with the catchment that you've got. To be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good area to be in. With on the border to Berkshire, so I've got a Newbury to go into. I'm on the border to Wiltshire, so I've got edges of Swindon, and then I can go as far as like Oxford and the other side, like I have done. So I've got a really good wide selection to take from, basically.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got some good areas. I mean, with Newbury and into Wiltshire borders and things like that, it's a pretty good area. You got a lot of horse riding people and stuff. So yeah,
definitely.
I mean, Newbury was my local town, obviously, because I lived in Kintbury, so I went to school in Hungerford and originally. So
yeah, just down the road from me.
Yeah. Newbury was our local sort of biggest town apart from Hungerford, anyway. To be fair, so
right, okay.
So tell us, how did you actually? What did you do before you did valeting, detailing, or whatever you want to call it?
I think I'm trying to think back. So I started getting into the world of valeting probably not long after, probably about a year after I passed my test. So think about now, it was a while ago. So I'd say I was probably about 19. Before then, left school, went into trying to do some joinery, stuff like that. But I've always had an interest in cars. I remember doing it at school, sort of art GCSE, doing pictures of cars and stuff like that. So I've always had a fascination with cars, of racing, modifications, stuff like that. So, and then it just spiraled from there, really. Got to friends that had cars before I passed my tests, cleaning them, doing them up. I just went from there, really. And then I'd had the opportunity to join a dealer, valeting cars in Oxford. It was actually Jaguar, so that was my first step into valeting. But so basically, I've gone from leaving school to be a joiner to then going, oh, actually, it's not for me. Maybe I want to just do something I'm more passionate about.
Yeah, it's surprising, where some of the people that we've sort of met over the years, where they've sort of come from leaving school, gone into professions. I mean, I was only talking to one a few weeks back that had been in a particular profession for like sort of 35, 40 years.
Right.
He was like, you know what, I actually fancy a change. I don't think I've really enjoyed what I've done for these last sort of 30 years.
It's a long time to not enjoy it.
And it's like, it's taken you 30 years to actually fathom that one out. And he's like, yeah, he said, you get stuck in a rut. That's the problem. And you just sort of go with the flow. He said, there's a few things that sort of happened in life. And he said, and this has sort of made me wake up and think, what I actually want to do, what I really want to do. And he's sort of getting involved with cars, which is what he's always wanted to do. And he was, involved in sort of computers and stuff like that, which had nothing to do with vehicles. And it's cars that he wants to be working on, but as a mechanic.
Wow.
Not anything else that you would think like detail, but as a mechanic. And it's what he's always wanted to do. But it's, I suppose because he's sort of doing like computer repairs, it's repairs on cars, mechanic, computers. He's still doing repairs, it's
still just working your hands.
He's still working with his hands and he's still doing repairs with things, with engines in effect. Obviously got a computer chip or a brain, but it's still the engine of the PC, and it's just a different sort of ball game. But he's decided to become a fully fledged mechanic. So it's amazing how people change and how things work out for people. So,
yeah.
So how long? Obviously, it's going to give your age away now. How long have you been doing it?
In and out, on and off. I'm 30, coming up 37.
Yeah.
So yeah, good majority of my life.
Yeah.
I've been doing pretty much, I'd say probably 90% of my working time. I've done valeting in some form or shape, whether it be for myself, for another company, for a dealership. I did a lot of dealerships.
Yeah.
From being down here, I lived in Stockport, Derbyshire area, so I did a lot around there for a few years, and then come back down here, did a few down around here again, until I had the opportunity to try and push for myself, really, and go from there.
Yeah. And obviously with the dealerships, what made you move up to sort of Derbyshire area and around there?
My dad moved up there, actually.
Oh, okay.
He moved up into it was a town called Furness Vale, like next to New Mills on the A6.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some things happened down here, and I had the opportunity to move up with him.
Yeah.
He was already up there settled, and I was like, you know what, I'll go up there. I made some really, really good friends that I'm still friends with today. And it was okay. Again, I got up there, and I didn't get into valeting then up there straight away. I had to sort of find my feet, but I was always in the car scene, always had my own stuff, and still built my knowledge up as I went, and taught myself new things all the time. So I was always dealing with cars in some shape or form, just not valeting as a main job.
Yeah. So have you sort of, are you self-taught, or have you sort of been through courses with anybody? Or
I am, I'd like to say I'm sort of 95% self-taught. I'd say 5% because when I was in Derbyshire, I worked for a small 4x4 dealer. They taught me, that's how I was taught to use a rotary polisher on an old beaten up Land Rover 90s, the old Discoveries, or faded paint, even showing me how to use a wax oil, jacking it up and stuff like that. So it was really good insight. And the guy was just sort of me, right, here's your compound, here's your pad. And if you'd seen the pad back then that I was using, it's shocking. But they just wanted it looking shiny for the forecourt. They didn't care about swirls and defects like we do now. So in this case, there you go, and showed me what to do. Went off it, there was like compound splattered everywhere. Then you jet wash it back down again. It was really, really long-winded. But I mean, from that, that's where I've built. Basically, that was my only official, not even official, but it's the only training I've ever had. And I've learned from there by talking to people, testing my own products, getting it, testing it, and thinking, oh, this works this way, this works this way. And I'm basically gone from there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. A lot of it is, I think, sort of, learning yourself, sort of, with panels or with vehicles and stuff. It's very important. I mean, because everybody has an opinion of how something should be done, and
course,
I would have an opinion of how something's done, and then somebody else that does training would have an opinion of how it should be done also, and they could be two totally different opinions. But that is what maybe works for me, and that's maybe what works for them, and it's. Which one's right? If they both work, then they're both right at the end of the day. They can't both be wrong. It's, but then again, you could get a third person who would say, no, they're both wrong because my opinion works. So it's, it's a very difficult one to.
Yeah.
Do.
As long as you get the results,
it
doesn't matter how you do the process for you, as long as you're happy doing it. And as long as the end product is great and the customer's happy. Bonus. That's literally it. Bottom line.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what the main thing is. It's it is, if it works for you and the customer's happy, that is the bottom line. The customer's happy, and that's all that sort of matters. Do you have any hobbies out of interest?
I'm into my football. And I like following and going to touring cars when I can. Obviously, not being able to, spectators, we've not been allowed. Don't get to go to many football, but because it's a bit out of my pricing at the moment. But touring cars is a bit more. You get like a good ticket. Sometimes we group of lads of us who go for a weekend, go and watch that. Generally, Silverstone or Brands and stuff like that. It's always a cracking weekend or a cracking day out. And then just generally, I just take my hands for anything really, especially when I'm working alongside my dad, who me and him are just like thick as thieves, and we get us something built up. And like when we're doing lots of projects around my house and in my garden, so generally DIY, and that I like. That's a good hobby of mine as well.
Yeah. Yeah, good, excellent. So I mean, I've obviously noticed that you've recently, is it sponsored a football team?
Yeah, so a local village, two villages, they have their own little football teams. It's Ardington and Lockage FC, and they approached me through social media. They were looking for a sponsor, and they're just like, "Oh, well, can we have a chat one night?" So I got a phone call and just had a chat, and he just said, "Well, this was what it potentially could cost. This is what you're going to get. We can't obviously, with any sponsorship, you can't guarantee what the returns will be, but this is, we will have your logo on the lad shirt." So I was sponsoring the under sevens now. Yeah. So I am providing 9 main shirts, shorts, and socks.
Yep.
As well as the keeper. So it's 10 in total. So I'm basically paying for them to have the logos embroidered. My then logo goes on the front.
Yep.
And a number on the back. So then wherever they play, obviously friends, family, spectators, and that will see my logo, and hopefully in return, I take the details down and they get in touch with me. But I like it's not just about getting money back out of it. It's also it's giving something to the community.
Sure.
That's what I like to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is. I think it's very important with any business that people do is to give back to the local community in one way or another, and it certainly helps, and it's great. I mean, we've sponsored football teams ourselves in the past, and it's, we never look at it as a money thing, because you don't get anything from it. Yes, people see your name out there, but we've sort of tested it, and I've never really had any people sort of come to us other than the odd sort of one or two people, but that's people that sort of know us mainly anyway. But it's more getting the kids it's always been young ones that we've done it for as well, like and under sort of 12s or 7s or whatever, and just getting them kits that they couldn't buy, that the clubs couldn't afford.
Exactly.
And it gives them a bit of pride because they've got a nice kit, and it gives them something to look forward to, and it just helps, and that's what it's all about, really. It's not the money side of it, because as I say, you don't get money out of it, because a lot of the kids at that sort of age, it's parents that haven't got a lot of money anyway. So they can't really afford to sort of have certain things that are very luxurious, where, like doing full detailing, they haven't maybe got the cars to sort of warrant spending £500-600-700 on a car, to have it polished.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
They'd probably wonder what sort of car you were giving them for that sort of money, let alone polishing it, So it's a different ball game, isn't it? And it's just trying to help people. And that's what it's all about, I think, at the end of the day. It's giving back to your community, whether that's, helping a local football team or even helping your local, sort of fire brigade, like a lot of people do in the States and stuff like that. It's just helping.
Yeah. In the past, as you previously mentioned about me going away and then coming back, my previous business, I actually, again, helped with fundraising. We have it's like a fun day, carnival day we have in the town, and they look for people to advertise in their booklet, and again, the money goes to charity. It's just a case of, I didn't get anything from it. It wasn't that. It was just the fact of, yes, my name's there, and it's great to see it. It's good for me. It makes me feel good, but also knowing that money is going to someone that needs it.
Yeah. So obviously, with you the company sort of stopped for a short period, or
sure, yeah,
for a period, didn't it? So how long ago did you sort of stop doing the sort of detailing for them? What did you do during that time?
I got myself a part-time job to begin with, until I made the full decision to stop. It was just some personal reasons. I were a bit strong at the time, so I had to make that harsh decision, which wasn't great. But sometimes these things happen. But it's made me, I feel, stronger minded when it comes to business. So I've learned a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to stick to one job. I had like 2 or 3 in that period, because I just couldn't. I felt like employment wasn't me. So when I come to that realization, once I sorted some things out at home, I was like, right, I know what I want to do. it's just a case of getting everything back into place.
Yep.
A door opened and I went for it.
Yeah.
And it is working out really well. At the moment, until I wouldn't say I'm at full speed now. I've been going only back since May. So I'm hope to say that by May next year, I'll be running back up 100%. Obviously, at the moment, I'm still building a customer base back. I've got some old customers coming back, which is great.
Yeah.
But so at the moment, I've literally just for 1, maybe 2 days a week, just to fill the gaps. I've got a friend I'm working for.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a bit of a change sometimes, you know, in your day-to-day life. Yeah. So until I'm not 100%, I'm doing that as well as my business. Yeah. And then I'm aiming by May next year to be 100% back in a van, full on it, like I used to be, but with more of a mindset on it and knowing what I did wrong, what I can improve on, and so on and so on.
Yeah, it is a matter of learning from it, isn't it? It's,
yes.
If you make the same mistakes again, then it's clearly, it's something that you've got to really address, sort of fathom out why you're making the same mistakes again. But as long as you can learn from them, and move forward, then, it is you are moving forward with it, and it's a great learning curve, and it's something that's, I think it's important to understand where you've gone wrong so that you can address it. And
yeah, definitely.
And I think a lot of the times, I've said it to a lot of people, you haven't failed. You've just maybe sidestepped, and that's what you've got to look at. And you've got to learn from what you've done wrong. And if you don't fail, then you're never going to learn anyway. And and like in your case, you've not failed. You know what you've done wrong. You're learning from it, and you're moving forward to a much stronger position to what you were in previously. So from your perspective, it's a great thing that's happened.
Yeah, at the time, it wasn't.
No,
it felt like a big kick in the, and but now looking back, you think, well, if it hadn't happened, where would I be? Would have just continued, or would I almost felt like I peaked and started doing that, and if I hadn't have stopped, would I have gone back up, or would it have just carried on going down, and I would have been even a worse situation? But I feel like if I hadn't stopped, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. No. Definitely wouldn't have my mindset and plans in place, and other things changed from last time.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you keep sort of plugging away at it, it's not just the business it's affecting. It then starts to affect health and family and everything else. So you've got to draw that fine line, haven't you, with it? And that's very, very, very important. People's health and well-being is far more important, in my opinion. Your customers and everything else. Your customers are very important, but you've got to be very, very healthy with a healthy mindset yourself to be able to fulfill that. And it's very important. A lot of customers understand if things are going wrong, as long as you're honest with them and explain it, they'll understand, and they'll be like, you know what, don't worry, Anthony, when you're back, come and see us. And that is sometimes all that you need, is that reassurance from those people. And they're like, don't worry, we'll get somebody in temporarily, but you've been honest with us, we'll get you back.
Yeah, the prime example for me was actually the one lady. She did use someone else that I recommended, but still wasn't happy. And she said to that, I know you've still got the stuff. This is like 3 months after finish. I know you're not doing it, but could you just do my car? All right, I don't mind. I'll do them the car. But, I thought myself, that's just a bit of pocket money for me, I just, extra bit of whatever. And then she's never looked back. She sort of had that one person, which he's great. I think he's great. I chat to him all the time. Again, he's another local lad, but she just knows what I produced, and she just loved that level. And every time I share it, she's like, brilliant workers, no, aren't they? Brilliant. And she always shares it and recommends me to everyone she sees, and it's really nice. But that, I think, if I probably speak for everyone across the board, no matter what you do, when a customer says you've done an amazing job, it's just that feedback.
Yes.
It's in there, isn't it? It doesn't matter how, sometimes you can walk away from, I think, maybe I could have done that a little bit better. But when they're going, wow, that's amazing. If it's just like, I've ticked all the boxes, great.
And that's all you need to do at the end of the day. If the customer says that, then you've done the job right, and everything's, as you say, it's perfect, and that's what you want. And it's always room for improvement with anything. I mean, we're always learning with what we do. It's something that you never stop learning, you never stop improving, with what you're doing. And it's just very important that you learn and improve with everything.
Of course.
It is important. I tell you one thing I wanted to ask. I mean, with the business, is there any sort of particular products that you prefer to use, or is it just, or even not sort of really particular products you prefer to use, but is there certain products that you like over others, and is there a reason for that?
I've done a lot of switching and changing, and I did try and sort of dedicate myself to a brand, but I found myself, like I said, liking certain things from one brand and certain from another. I felt that they did a better job for me than the other brand, and then sometimes it even worked out in favor that the cost was lower, and the product was working just as good or better. So I have multiple. I'm trying to think of. So I've got Auto Bright, Auto Smart. I've got there's a lad that distributes a local brand around here called Buffett. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's quite a small one, and I actually use their shampoo. It's like a jelly bean one, very good. It doesn't only just smell nice, but it produces the goods basically. It cleans it properly and it suds up, which is what I like to see. And I use their glass cleaner purely because I struggle to find ones that, when we had all the heat, didn't smear too much. I changed my cloths, and then I went through about 3 different makes of cleaner, and they all still smeared, but this one is just amazing. So again, I've done it all. I've always done it. I've always had multiple different brands in my van or in my car, in my shed, whichever, purely because I've gone through about loads of them just to find which ones I feel work better for me. And then once they work better, I then put them into my schedule, how I clean the car, and it, like I said before, it gets results. So I don't stick to just one. I have multiple different ones that work for me.
I think it's the same with us. With the detailing side of things, obviously we do the leather, but I mean with the detailing side, our cabinets are full of a multitude of range of products, and it's not just one. And it's amazing. Some people have said to me, "Why on earth do you have that? I hate it." And I'm like, "I love it. It works for me." And they're like, "Really?"
Exactly. Yeah.
What the hell? And I'm like, "Yeah, I really love it." And I start going on, and they're like, "I don't know where you're getting off, but that really, I hate it." And I've had that from 2 or 3 people, and I'm like, "No, I absolutely love it. Gets me brilliant results." But it's just obviously how I'm doing the process. It's with the results are the same at the end of the day. I mean, we're all getting a car that's nice and shiny, with flawless paintwork, as flawless as it can be. But it's just probably due to the way I'm holding the machine, or the way I'm pushing it, or holding it, or whatever I'm doing. I just find that works for me. And then there's other things I'm like, not really too keen on that one. It's okay, but it's not really too keen. And others like, honestly, this stuff is the bee's knees. Not for me, it's not. And that is just what works for you doesn't work for somebody else. And that's, I think, is the key to it. And we have a huge selection of different products. And some people ask me why I have some of the products that I've got that I've been using for the last 20 odd years that are proper old school things. And I actually enjoy working with them, even though they splatter dust and dirt and polish absolutely everywhere. And but they work really well. And they work for me.
Like my trusty old rotary, I've had it from when I started my original business. So back in 2014, it still works. It's still sat in there. I only upgraded to a DA from Auto Bright a month or 2 ago. Because I've wanted something a bit more newer that does the same job or maybe better. But I still found myself using it the other day. Because it's my trusty old workhorse, as they say. Stick on at the end of the day, it may be a heavy machine, but when you stick on the right pad, use the right product on it, it does an amazing job.
I think our one was originally an angle grinder. Obviously, we took the angle grinder off it and put it's quite an old one, and put the I was showing someone the other day and put the polisher head on, because the polisher head mops that we get on it are absolutely huge. They're massive, like bigger than the size of your head. So I mean, they're quite a big polish head on it. And someone was looking at that and they were like, "What the hell is that? That's like a floor polishing mop off a floor machine." I'm like, "Yeah, they're huge, aren't they?" And they're like, "Christ, you know, I'm surprised your arms aren't like Popeye with the weight of this thing." The way that would have dragged you over. I'm like, "Well, yeah," because there was no start. You know, there was no like speeds 1 to 10 or whatever. I mean, you just turned it on and you literally went, and that was it.
Wow.
And it's, you know, and it's a big, I think it's a big Mayer one, which was an angle grinder type thing originally with I think it had a great big 12-inch angle grinder disc on it originally. And obviously back then, you know, I mean, that's all you could really get. And there wasn't anything. And then the next thing that came out was obviously the PC, which was like heaven for us when that came out, because you sort of went from whatever it was, about 8 kilos to sort of like a kilo or 2, you know, and it was like an amazing difference. And, or, you know, whatever the PC was. And well, I posted up the PC the other day and people are like, "Christ, what the hell is that? You still using that thing? That's a dinosaur." You know, compared to machines today, it really is a dinosaur, but you do use it still. And, you know, for certain things, and it works really well for us. I mean, some people are like, "What is that?" I mean, they've never even seen it because they've not had that experience over the years to actually see those things. It's like people, when you sort of tell them, you know, "I used to live without a mobile phone," and they're like, they were born with them. You know, they were literally born with a mobile phone in their hand.
Yeah.
You didn't have mobile phones? I'm like, it's like with my daughters, it's like, "Eloise, when I was a kid, we didn't have TV." You what? And they can't get their head around that. And they're like, "You didn't have a TV?" Well, we did have, but it was this tiny little thing about 8 inches and it was black and white. You know, that was all my family could afford. You know, they couldn't afford color TV. And they're like, "What, a black and white TV?" I'm like, "Yeah, black and white."
That was my first TV in my bedroom, was black and white one.
Exactly.
Old tuning one, but downstairs I had a color, but because they couldn't afford another color one for me.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's typical stand there turning the knob to tune it in, and you're right, and fuzzy screen appearing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, kids today, they're just, I don't think they realize how easy they get it with technology compared to what it was, especially when I was at school back in the 80s and 70s and things. So I mean, they don't really even between when I went 90s, still a lot different now. Yeah. Oh, it is very.
You know, I've got my 12-year-old. He sits on his phone all day, and I'm like, "Come on,
get off it." Yeah.
Get off it. Yeah.
And it's it is. It's strange how different, how times have changed. You know, from what it used to be. If, you know, sort of, and it's not that long ago, really, when you start thinking about it. You know, sort of 30-something years ago, and people think, especially when you got kids now that are, you know, like my eldest is like 23, and it's like when you're sort of saying to them, you're talking like 30-something years ago, they're like, "You didn't have these things then?" "Yeah, that's just a few years before you were born, believe it or not." And they're like, "Bloody hell, that's amazing." How did it's like we actually picked up the phone, or we wrote letters, you know, and that's how we did things, you know. Or we went around and saw people, or you sent them a letter through the post and stuff. And it's like, "Didn't you do email?" "No, not back then. There was no such thing as email."
Knock on the door. You coming out?
Exactly. Yeah. And then go down the park and play in the hedge or something, you know. So, and keep all your kit in the hedge. And people, you know, kids today, they're like, you really kept stuff like that in the hedge?" "Yeah, we did, honestly." And in the hedge, you know, they just can't believe it. That's just reality. It's just
so I'll tell you, youngsters coming into the world of detailing and valeting now, they're like, when I started, I used the leather. You used what? You can get them from Alfred still. I know, but I used to use them day in, day out, and drive the cars perfectly well with them, not knowing any different. But it worked. We'll use one of them now. No, because technology has moved on. We've got nice plush drying towels and so on and so on.
Yeah, it does. It all moves on, and it does. It shocks people, you know, some of the younger ones, and it's difficult. I mean, there's so much information out there as well that they're reading. I mean, we get it all the time where they're reading things and they're reading the wrong things, but yet they argue with you till you're purple in the face that they're right, even though they're telling you the wrong thing. And it's so difficult because they're so headstrong about it as well. And I mean, it's one of the reasons why we came off a lot of the public forums on Facebook, purely and simply because of that, because it's just, you know, it's a great place, is social media, but unfortunately it has its downside as well. You know, and it can be a very horrid place, and
it can be.
It is purely and simply one of the main reasons why we came off 95% of the groups on Facebook, because they in my opinion, they weren't managed properly by the admins as they should have been.
No.
and people that should have been getting banned weren't getting banned, and people that shouldn't have been were getting banned. Purely and simply because apparently, those that weren't getting banned are very popular people.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Just because someone's popular, it doesn't mean they should be on social media, bullying or belittling people.
No.
I mean, so it's just one of those things. But do you stay on many social media things, or do you try to come off them? Or
I have them there in the background as more of a flick through. If something catches my eye, I'll read about it. But I try not to sort of get involved with it, because you can see things spiraling, and like you said, people all have their own opinions, and I think it's like, okay. Sometimes if it's a decent, there is a couple of decent groups out there, and I will sometimes advise, like, this is what I would advise to do, and then if some people come out of this, I'm just like, okay, that's your way of doing it. It's not a problem. Exactly. I'm always up for giving advice. I like to educate people when I can. It's just in my nature, I suppose. Even my customers, I like to educate where I can.
Yeah.
Some people like to ask questions, and I'm quite happy to stand there and chat all day and say, this is what it does, and this is how I do it. But there's other things out there, I tell them, or you could potentially buy this, and then you could keep it topped up. It's education's the key as well, I feel.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's rather than, when someone comes with a question or fires something back about, you shouldn't do it like that or do it like this. I think it's more of, it's giving them a solid foundation of a response that is going to help to educate them so they understand it. I mean, some folks you can't help. They're still adamant that they're right, even though, they're wrong, and it's just very difficult. But I think a lot of it is trying to help people rather than, which is why one of the reasons why I joined the IDA was to try to help people grow and to learn from it as well. And it's one of the reasons why we were in it. It's one of the reasons why we looked at PVD originally, but it just, I don't know, the IDA, I feel, is sort of like the next level up, and the sort of a much higher professional sort of grade. And I just found that, it's far superior for me to be in that, because it just helps so many people around the world. And I learn from so many people around the world as well. And it's a big group to help educate people. And I really like it. And it's a great feeling to know that you're learning something from them and they're learning something from you as well. And it's what it's about. It's not about getting business from it. It's about what you're learning, which is what I really like about the IDA. It's a whole process of learning from each other and helping each other when you're stuck, and it could be something. You could post a question about, how do I do this? And a lot of people would be like, common sense, pal, you should know what you're doing if you're a detailer. But sometimes you get a mind block, and there's nothing wrong with asking that question. And
there's no harm in asking at all, is there? It's really not.
The thing is, there's harm if you don't ask. That's the way I always say about it. No, it's like we have private groups for our leather side of things. And I always say to the guys, what you got to remember is, don't inbox me to ask me a question. Ask in the group, because there could be somebody out there that's petrified to actually ask that question. And you could have just saved them a lot of trouble and a lot of hassle, because once they've seen that, they might just say, they actually might make them start talking and open up and say, wow, you've just actually done me a massive favor, because I've been wanting to ask that question for ages, but I thought it sounded stupid, but it isn't, because you've really helped me. But while I'm at it, can you help me with this question? And like I've always said to everybody, no question is stupid. The only question that's stupid is not asking it.
Yeah, it can get you into a load of trouble, can't it? If you don't, if you think, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to ask for advice, and then end up causing, open a whole can of worms, really, aren't you? And
you could thousands of pounds worth of damage. In fact,
exactly
by trying to be too ego positive with it and thinking, oh, I can do this, I can manage this, instead of bowing down. Even though you're not bowing down, it's having the nuts to basically say,
swallowing your pride, isn't it, really, and just going for it.
You've got to swallow your pride and just say, look, you know what, tell you what, guys, I don't know whether I'm on the right track, but can you put me on the right track, because I'm thinking this and that. And you might get 2 or 3 different opinions from different people, and then you've got to sort out which one's right, and that's what it's all about, and going with it and doing it.
I asked a question of my dad. He wants me to machine his good old Daisy Duster. He hasn't looked after it, but I know there's a lot of scratches on there that need to be wet sanded. It's not my strongest point. So I thought, well, I'm not going to touch it. I said to my dad, I'm not going to touch it until I've got more knowledge of how to deal with it. Because I don't want to go on it as much as your car. Could have been anyone's car. I don't want to just go for it and do more damage than it actually is correcting it. So he's like, fair enough. And I reached out. And off the back of that, me and this other detailer are now arranging for a day where someone is going to come and help us both do it. And teach us how to do it. So sometimes it's beneficial to reach out, because at the end of the day, it's not just sometimes getting a reply, it's sometimes getting a massive thing like that. For me, that's big thing. That's again, that's more knowledge and learning. And it's not a big training course or anything like that. It's a 3 guys, one showing us what to do. And learning from it.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. It's just helping each other, really, and it's great that these guys reached out and are helping you to do this. So which is what it's about. It's building the industry up rather than knocking everybody in it. It's about building the industry and helping each other, and that's what it's what's good about it. And that's what I love about it. It is about helping each other and helping people get recognition and get along, and and that's what it's all about. And a lot of industries should be like that, but unfortunately you have it with every industry, no matter whether it's building a house or being a plumber or whatever. You're always going to get people that will knock each other, and you'll get good ones and you get bad ones, and same as you get them in this industry. It's just life, unfortunately.
Definitely.
What sort of plans do you have for the future for the business?
Short term, get myself back in a van. I'm currently running out of my car, which is all logoed up, so it looks semi-professional. And so once I'm at that stage, I'm going to get myself a brand new website, which the guy's on hold for, which built my last one. He's already said to me, this is what it costs. This is what we do for you. Again, he's IT guy that's self-taught, so he's got better, I don't know what the jargon is for websites, but he's all singing and dancing now, so it'll be even better than my last one. And then that's short term, so that's basically looking from up to sort of May, June next year. Long term, it's funny enough, I was only talking to my wife last night about it, that I love to have a unit, but not to be there every waking hour. So because that's our worry as a family. As much as I love my job, it's when I do my work, I get my head down. I tend to not stop. I just get it done, because I like to just crack on. That's me. But so I'll be worried that if I started pulling on too much and not then having the balance right. So I want to do that, get to that stage, and that's my long-term thing, is having a unit, but it's not the be all and end all. I'll be quite happy if I had a nice van and had a lovely customer base, and I'll be, my diary was nice and bulging. And that's basically where I'd like to be long term. Is not essential to have a unit. It would be nice. Just for mainly rainy days, really, I suppose.
Rainy days in winter,
definitely. Keeping in the warm and out of the snow, and having to jet wash a frost or whatever, so it'd be nice. But at the same time, it's not the end of all. I just like to have a nice customer base back and have my nice van and stuff like that. Really, that's my long-term view, and generally have a nice general family life around that as well. Really,
So, I mean, obviously getting the business back up and running again after your break. How do you do advertising? What do you do?
Mainly it's social media and word of mouth, a lot of it. But it was funny, I was third week back, I didn't have my uniform, no logos on the car, and I was at a friend of the family's house, and a delivery driver who I know did his car when I was last up and running. He goes, just a man. Oh, how you doing? You all right? Someone told me in town the other day you were back up and running. It's like, wow. It's just, again, word of mouth has just gone boom for me. last time I was going, it was a case of on social media, if anyone asked, my name was boom, 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 boom there. And it was nice. It looked good. I clearly was doing something right. And it would get back there again. But it's mainly word of mouth, social media. And obviously I'm advertising now with the football. That's basically it at the moment. I have put myself back on the old yellow pages. So again, it's some internet presence. And then in time, again, I said the website. So I've always got that Google presence then as well. That's the aim. But I don't tend to really go out there loads. Like today, rained off. I sat there and thought, right, I'll make up an advert on my page and I'll share it to loads of local pages. Just so people see it. If I get messages, I get messages. If I don't. But it's just like I haven't lost anything.
No, exactly.
I used to pay for adverts and I didn't really get much return on them. Because
it's understanding the algorithms. They can be an absolute nightmare unless you know the algorithm inside out, which changes so frequently. So it's we've done adverts where we've sort of put like £100 into an advert for 7 days or whatever, and done it to a certain audience that we thought was right, and then we've done a second one to another specific audience and had a lot more success than the other one. And but we've just changed the age. It's just something as simple as that. Instead of going, like a standard sort of thing, 18 to 65, we've maybe gone down to 50 and gone up to 20, gone for up to 25 but down to 50 or something like that, and had a much greater response because obviously there's a lot more younger people on there, which really is totally irrelevant. But then when you get sort of 65 and plus, so as far as detailing, they're not really so bothered, but that's maybe a bracket where they start thinking about where they want to just buy a new car and they can afford to because of mortgages and things paid off. But they're also at that point where it's like, I maybe want to get my sofa repaired because they've got a much finer sofa and stuff because they've got that point where they can afford to do that, and it's just trying to find that balance with it. So we sort of split things down into many different sort of categories and age groups, and it's for different things. And I think that is the key to it, is finding that correct algorithm and someone that you can talk to about that as well. And I mean, it's just getting that balance right. And we've done it before with things where we've been very specific about just doing detailing work for 7 days, but we just specifically to 2 or 3 village areas where we are locally in Hull and just for BMWs.
Right. Okay.
And then just targeted specifically to BMWs and stuff like that. And then it will only show your advert to people as long as those people have put in a BMW, or if they've been searching a lot, I want to buy a second-hand, buy a BMW or BMW this. It will only show your advert to those people that have ever searched BMW or have a BMW. So it becomes, it's just understanding that algorithm and how it works and getting it right for your area. And each one's different. I mean, what's going to work in Newbury might not work in Oxford, and it won't work in anywhere else, and it's totally different. It's what's in Cheveley won't work in Newbury and XYZ, it's just so different. That's the thing.
I honestly couldn't tell you in the areas around here what's more popular in one area ever, because I'd say everywhere has a bit of everything. So I can't, like you say, I can't just say, oh, well, Wantage has this and Newbury has this, Oxford has that, but they have a mix of everything. It's really hard. So it is trying to find the right things. There's a lot of trial and error to get it right.
With it. I mean, it's like with some of the efforts, we sometimes specifically just target women or men or whatever, and then certain age brackets of incomes as well. So I mean, we wouldn't just sort of hammer at everybody. We'd maybe at some points target someone with a wage that's above £30,000 as well. So, but then we'd also target some of them with a wage that's sort of like down to 15,000 up to 30,000 and so on and so forth, or 15 to 45. But men of a certain age group as well. So it's you've got to get right specific down with it. That's the thing. And it's because if you don't, you're just sort of like throwing money away. People don't respond to it. You don't actually burn the money on the advert. So, and that's the beauty of it, but you get a lot of reach with it, but they're not clicking on it, if you see what I mean. So you're not actually burning the money for the advert. So it works.
Yeah.
It becomes an absolute minefield. Trust me. And I still don't understand it all. It's only from what I've picked up from staff and companies that we've employed. And it's just, to me, it's just like, whew, forget it, because I just can't be doing with sitting there doing all that. It is an absolute nightmare. And
it can be.
But it's just getting the right people to do it, and that's what it all boils down to. So with the detail, is there anything specific that you prefer to do over anything else with it?
That's a good question. Because I mean, the other day I did an Audi and absolutely loved the outside and how it came up. And it just brought me more joy in doing the inside. But then I did an inside a few weeks ago that was an absolute, from start to finish, was an absolute massive turnaround. And it just put a massive smile on my face because I could see a massive difference. It made me good inside. So I don't really have a specific thing I like doing. I just generally, I think, as all of, I enjoy it all, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, I know that people like going, I absolutely hate doing seats and stuff, or absolutely hate cleaning wheels. And I mean, yeah, you have some wheels that are an absolute pain in the butt, but I mean, that's the challenge of it. That's what I love. Is not one car, unless you're specifically doing 1 week of all the same car. Not every day is exactly the same car, so it's a different challenge every car you do. Which is just great.
And obviously with you being mobile, what do you find is the most challenging part of that, being mobile?
At the moment for me is making sure a customer can supply, give me an outside tap. If I don't, obviously I'm aiming to, I had it my last van had a generator and water. I could pull up anywhere in the middle of a field and do anything you want, which was great. But I found that the generator wasn't really being used. So I could turn around. Unless someone was in the flats, which probably had that once every few months. I've very rarely used my generator, so it was kind of an investment wasted as such. So I feel this time I'm not going to get a generator in my van, so I'm going to make sure I have plenty of water, so I haven't got to worry about having to run a hose from the back garden or the front, wherever it needs to be. So that's my main challenge at the moment. Is making sure that someone has got water there for me to do the job. If it's an and an I will, like, if they're local, I can get them to drop the car off to me. So I have everything. I've made sure I've had everything here to do the job, not just for my own sake, but for that purpose. Because I look after a local company. You've probably seen it on social media that they do like a lot of house cleans and stuff. So they like to keep their vehicles all clean as well. So they're literally around the corner from me, and they're quite easy to drop it off the night before, put the keys through my letterbox, and I'll just crack on and do it. So that's a good thing for me.
It's appearance, isn't it? I suppose with them doing house cleans, if their vehicle's dirty, people think, well, are they going to do a good job with the houses? And it is all down to the appearance, and it's if they take pride in having their vehicles kept clean, even though it's with somebody else, they're going to take pride in keeping your house clean, or doing what they're doing, and that's what it all sort of boils down to, really, at the end of the day. One of the questions I tell you, before I ask this, there's another thing. What do you think the industry is lacking?
I think it's lacking a definition in. I mean, a lot of people call themselves, just go out, watch a few YouTube videos and call themselves a detailer. I think I like to call myself a valeter stroke detailer, because I don't feel I'm that level of detailing. I feel detailing is primarily, I say 90% unit. If you want to detail a car, you need a unit. You need to be inside, dry, do the nuts on it, basically. If you're out and about, I'd say you're a valeter. But people are too quick to go detailing. I'm a detailer because I can do this, I could do that. I'm like, all right, well and good. But there's no set at the moment, which I think it annoys me a little bit. Because a guy that's been doing it 6 months calls himself a detailer, and I've been doing it for X amount of years, and I don't. So that's what I think is lacking, is a definition, proper definition of what you are. I mean, it's all right. You previously there, I've been to Auto Buy Direct and they've approved me, but that's only for certain things. And customers like to see that, to say that, I've gone to someone in the company and I've been approved because of my standards are there, meet their standards. And, like yourself, so everyone is getting to know you.
Yes. Yep.
So, I still don't call myself a detailer because I've done that.
Yeah.
But many would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I absolutely agree with you on that one. It's something that even 20 odd years ago, 30 years ago, even, that, we did valeting and we did detailing and we had a factory unit, and people were like, well, what's the difference? You're still cleaning my car. And I'm like, no, I'm not cleaning your car when I'm detailing it. Like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, but I'm taking the seats out, I'm taking the carpets out, I'm taking the wheels off, the inner wheel arches are coming out, the boot line is coming out, your rear lights are coming out, your headlights are coming out. What the hell are you doing that for? I'm detailing the car. But why do you need to do that? Because there's dirt behind them, but nobody can see it. But I know it's there,
Yeah.
And that's why people pay to have their car detailed. That's why we're doing it. All these things are coming off. The wheel arches are coming out, and they're like, but it's plastic. It's there for a reason. I know, but it's coming off. And we're protecting behind it, and we're cleaning the plastic behind it, getting all the dirt off, which slows the rust process down. And people are like, but what does it cost? And I mean, I've always said, we won't work for nothing. And I mean, even 20 odd years ago, 30 years ago, even, we were charging like 2,000 quid to do a detail on a car. To a lot of people, that time ago was a lot of money, but
yes,
there's no way I was going to work for 2 weeks or more for less than a couple of grand, for doing what I'm doing. And that was some long hours. That was like, 6 a.m. till 7 and 8 o'clock at night, meticulously doing cars with, with polishes and things. And it's having that standardization for the industry, and which is where the IDA is coming in. And then they are making sure that people understand a set rule about how a car should specifically be done, a process that it should be done in. And they're trying to sort of get the terminologies of who people are. And that's why, again, we're accredited and we're a CD. We're not an SV or anything like that, or skills validated. It's something that we'll probably go through to be skills validated eventually, but I've become a CD, a certified detailer. And I'm quite proud to display that and talk about it and represent the IDA wherever I go with those badges. And I think the more that they sort of pump that into the public domain, the more people are going to understand, the IDA basically is like gas safe and so on and so forth, because that's what they're trying to do with it, is to get that recognition that you can walk up and say, I'm IDA, you could walk up and say, I'm Antony Dixey, I'm a valeter, and they're like, I'd rather have that guy. He's certified. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you want. You know what I mean? And that's the way they're going with it. And that is exactly what you're saying. It's cutting out the sort of weak part of the industry where anybody can walk into it. I mean, I could walk into it tomorrow if I was 18 and say, there's my car, I'm a detailer. Never touched a machine polisher in all my life. It's so easy for someone to sit there and create a website, whatever, RH detailing, professional, fantastic, loads of experience, got that, and people will be like, I want to give this guy some work. Here's my Ferrari. You're a detailer, aren't you? Absolutely. And
they've passed a test. They spent like a year just detailing their own car, as they say, and they think they're it. And it annoys me, but then I don't rise myself to it because, and I don't sort of then go around slating people about it, or because if I know about them, I'm like, fine, it's up to you. And in the past, my experience is if people have gone to these places or used other people, and then they've always they're not used them again.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got what they expected. And then they've come to me, they've paid more.
Yep.
But then they're going, oh, I know what I'm paying for now.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. It's just getting that, like you say, it is annoying, and it's getting that is what the idea is about, is getting that definition of what everything stands for and what it truly means, and it's to have people as a fully recognized, detailer, because it's a very hard job, and a lot of people think it's like, just a car cleaner, just slapping a bit of polish on and wiping it and drying it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a lot of people that say that get out there and actually do this day in, day out in, 31 degrees or -5 and, dust blowing everywhere. And, you know, no matter what the season is, you have got it up against you. You're out in the elements, you're doing this, and it is bloody hard.
Yeah.
You don't realize how hard it is.
Yeah, it is always a challenge. You're constantly watching the weather.
Yep.
So you're always like, oh, am I doing anything today? Am I not? Am I rescheduling it? It is tough. Yeah.
I mean, you could have, whatever, 2 valets out there at 120 quid in a day, and that's 240 quid you've lost that day. And people are like, but you've rebooked them in. But I've lost 240 quid for that, because I've now got to rebook those in that I couldn't do today into 2 weeks' time. So that means I've lost 240 quid there. Somewhere I've lost 240 quid. And
yeah, today was a prime example for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Weather this morning, absolutely hammered down. Scheduled all day, which it turned out to be, it stopped by about 2. But I still, by then I couldn't do nothing.
No, exactly. And nights are starting to draw in now as well, which doesn't really help. So you can't even, you know, and it's not going to be long, you know, give it another month and it's going to be 5 o'clock and it's going to be getting dark. I couldn't believe it the other day, bloody 7:30 yesterday when I got back into England, and it's 7:30 and it's getting dark driving up the M1, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's just unreal.
Yeah. It's horrible.
4 days before I went away and it was like 8:30. It's unbelievable. It's unreal how it's got to change so quickly. It's amazing how and it is all a challenge, you know, for anybody that's in the detailing industry, and it is a constant challenge. It's not an easy job, and people underestimate it and they think, oh, you know, a couple of quid to wash my car. No, it's not a couple of quid to wash your car. This is a very skilled profession that involves a hell of a lot of heartache to do it and a lot of hard work, and people need to be paid appropriately for the skill that they do when they are a professional for doing this. And, you know, like you say, a detailer should work from a factory, and I think that's where all detailers should work, because you can't do a proper detailing job mobile at all.
No, you can't.
Polishes and dirt flying around, and you just adding more swirls into it. It's just not possible.
You can do it to a certain degree, but it'll never be to a detailing standard.
No, exactly.
Never will be. Yeah. You can make it look a hell of a lot better. You can eradicate a lot, but it will never be perfect. It's never be. I say to all my customers, if you know, they're like, "Oh, can you just?" Some of them still come up with the old term mop. Like, oh, can you just mop my car?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Okay, buck and mop. You know, buck and a mop. Yeah, I'll just go over and mop. It's fine. But no, I'm like, you want me to machine polish it? Yeah, please. What do you want? What are you not happy about? Oh, I've got this on it. Right. Okay. Well, then I can do this much. But if you want this much, then I'm going to have to find somewhere indoors to do it.
Yeah.
Or I can pass you to someone who can do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it's okay, well, what can you do? And so I tell them what I can do, and they're like, okay, and they're generally happy with that. Sometimes they're not. I'm like, okay, well, we'll find someone else, and fine. That's absolutely fine, not a problem.
It's not an easy one. It's
no,
it's just it's like with everything, it's getting the right balance for it all.
Yes.
One of the closing questions that we ask everybody,
sure,
and it's not an easy one, and you're going to be like, I wish you never asked me that. If you could have told yourself one piece of information when you first started in business that you now know, what would it be?
That's a good question. Probably have a lot more capital behind you before you start. That's probably a big one. I mean, I did better the second time around. I still feel I could have done better. But any recommendation, if anyone's starting out, have a big wedge first. Don't just jump in with the basics. Go out, get a big wedge, because it's a lot of money, not just for your equipment and everything. There's insurances, there's everything else to go with it. So not just for the kit, it's for you today, rainy days.
You
have to dip in your pocket to pay your bills and your household bills. When you're not earning, you need some money. So you got to have a backup fund.
Well, you ought to. Rent doesn't stop, and nor does mortgages. And
no. So
electricity costs you more because you're at home. You know. Lights off. So
I've got a hungry 3-year-old, and a 12-year-old comes from weekends and sits around on his phone all day. So electric and food. So definitely. Yes, definitely capital. It's a big thing. Yeah.
To make sure you have money to invest properly.
Yeah.
Whether that's training, equipment, and a rainy day fund, et cetera, et cetera. It's amazing how many people that we speak to, especially during COVID, that haven't had rainy day funds.
Yeah.
We've done it from day one with our business. We've always had a rainy day fund, and then we've had a very rainy day fund. And it's paid dividends every time we've had to use that rainy day fund.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm lucky enough since May, I've only had to use it once, but that was for equipment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. I mean, how it all started off for us was we wanted to buy a factory, and we're still in that process of looking to buy a factory. And so we had a rainy day fund and then a factory fund. But it sort of became, we ended up calling it the rainy day fund and the very stormy fund, and that's what we called it. But it's meant to be the rainy day fund and the factory fund. And that's what we just keep saving into all the time, is to have that there. And it's, we've had times in the past, in slow times, and, we've used the rainy day fund. And if we hadn't have had it, then I don't know where we would have been today, and it pays dividends. And then the amount of people, it's like, a lot of American friends, and they will actually say to me, if you don't have a year's worth of salary put by, then you're a crazy fool.
Yeah. This is my friend who's helped me get back on my feet, and who I said I work with alongside. He's the one that told me to have this proper rainy day fund. It was one of the areas that I didn't have. It was a matter of many that of my last time round.
Yeah.
And he said, look, you need to start off with, he made sure that I had 2 months my bank before I started. So I saved and I worked before I start. And then I said, right, I'm nearly there. And he said, great. Well, I'm nearly ready to have you with me while you're building up.
Yeah.
And and it got to the point, and then we just and it happened. So definitely, you've got to have that rainy day capital fund behind you.
Even if you've put £75 a month away, it soon adds up.
Oh yeah.
And it's not an awful lot of money.
No.
Yes, it is money, but it's not an awful lot. But even putting £75 a month away, that soon adds up to a good chunk of money. 10 months down the line, you get 750 quid. It's amazing what that 750 quid could do. You're talking a power washer, a hoover, and a machine polisher in some cases. And it's
just, for me, that's like one average car a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of those average cars a week, I just put that by.
Yep.
And the rest is there. So it does add up, and I do and do the same, put some into the savings across when I can, when I remember, but generally just, I must put some across to them done. It's, so it's always building. But then I find like I dipped in it last time, it went down dramatically, but it was I needed the stuff. So exactly what it's there for, but I still have a decent amount for days like today.
Yeah.
The winter coming, I got a feeling we may be in for a harsh winter. Yeah. So I'm preparing myself for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the main thing. It's surprising how many people that are in this game that don't have that backup.
Yeah.
You've only got to get a machine go wrong, and a power washer blow up, and you go and buy it, and then 2 days later your bloody hoover goes, and it's like, Jesus Christ, some people are like, I've just had enough, I want to quit. And it's, we've been in positions, with home where it's like we couldn't even afford to go and buy a washing machine when the washing machine broke. But we've learned over the years, personally as well, have that fund, and it's like I say to my 2 girls, keep money on one side. They've just been very fortunate enough. They've just bought their own houses. One's 19, one's 23. We've never helped them. They've always had their own jobs. Crystal's a biomedical scientist, and and it's great. And she's earned it, and the other one's at school, working in the school as a in a quite a high up position. She's only 19. She's very, very lucky. She didn't want to do uni. They've both landed on their feet very, very nicely, which is great. And they've not had dad helping them, which is, I've never had help, and I didn't want to help them. I wanted them to understand the value of money, which is what they've done. Yeah.
Yeah. I've done the same. I've grew up understanding it. I've learned to, from even before I left school, I was working. So I had to earn my own money. I know the value of it. And this is what I'm teaching my boys now. Is if you've got money, don't just blow it, save it. And if you really want something, save it, save. Even my 3-year-old, he's a little monkey. He's finding, Dad has wallet. And he gets the pennies out and he goes, oh, go and put it in my piggy bank. And he goes in the cupboard for sitting in my piggy bank.
That's what you want to do, is make sure they understand that value of just saving it. I remember that my first push bike I bought was a chopper thing. I had like all tassels on the handlebars, and I bought it from Thatcham. And I saved with that, with paper rounds and things. And you know, and I think at the time I was about 12 years old, and I'm 53 now, so you can imagine how many years ago it was. And it was like the best thing ever was this chopper bike I bought, where I had like tassels on the ends of the handlebars and a little bell on the top. And I think even then, I paid about £170 for this thing, but I saved and saved and saved for months and months and months, with paper rounds and running errands for the old folks and things, going and getting their shopping and from the corner shop and everything else. And, you know, kids these days, like, you went and did shopping for old people?
Yeah,
I actually did. And I sat down with them sometimes for 2 hours and just talked to these poor, lonely people. What the hell were you talking about? Well, they were just talking about when they were kids, you know, and their partner, when they were married or whatever, and what they did in the war and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, how boring. Well, actually, I found it quite interesting, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But that was just a different way of life, you know. But
yeah, you don't see many kids getting up in the morning going out on paper round nowadays either.
And it's just getting them to understand and learn to save, isn't it? So it's just, it's crucial. And I think that is like one of your things you were saying there, is just having that fund. Yeah, it's that important piece of information. I think a lot of people need to understand that having that fund with a detailing business is very, very crucial, because, you know, you've only got to get your cargo pop and that's it. It's your biggest asset gone. And without it, you're buggered. And it's, you know, you've got to have some money to go and rent something to tie you over, to hire something to keep you going. And people just don't think like that, unfortunately. No.
They just think of the here and now, don't they? Yeah. And it's all about, well, what can I do now? What can I do with this? It's not what could happen. You've got to think.
Exactly.
Sometimes you've got to think the worst to prepare yourself. Well, and then you'll be in a better place. I mean, 9 out of 10 things don't. If you buy quality stuff to begin with, then you generally will last.
Will last, yeah, exactly.
But you know, I know I've bought cheap and I've worked my way up. Don't get me wrong, I've had the cheapy, cheerful jet washers and I've worked my way up and up and up. So I know how you can start, but if you can get something decent, you know it's going to last you, but then still have that fund just in case, because nothing's perfect nowadays for it to go wrong. Yeah, you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just having that fund, and it's like with anything can happen. Prices increase with anything, fuel, you know, no matter what it is, anything can throw a spanner in the works. And it's just, rather than spending every penny you earn, it's just, you've got to save some for those rainy days.
Completely.
So there we go. So Antony, tell us, how can people get hold of you? What do you have? Social media? Obviously, I know you said you got a new website coming. Phone, email, social media accounts. What do you have? How do they get hold of you?
So at the moment, it's generally on social media, Facebook, Instagram. On those, I do have a LinkedIn, but very rarely use it. But they're my main two. So AD Valeting Oxfordshire is on those. Must be the Oxfordshire, because there's a lot of AD valeters out there. Yeah. So, but I do have a Gmail email as well for the business, and a dedicated business telephone line, which is mobile as well. Cool.
So that's obviously, say that again for your social media page. So it's AD.
Let me just confirm it. I don't want to. It's obviously important.
Definitely Oxford.
Yeah, I'd say
there are a lot of ADs out there.
AD Valeting Oxfordshire.
Oxfordshire, cool. So that's AD Valeting Oxfordshire. That is Antony Dixey, and that is another episode of Totally Detailed. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's been great, and hopefully, you know, people will learn from your experiences that you've shared today as well, and you know, hopefully it'll help a few people out. So thank you very much, Antony. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
No worries at all. Good speaking to you.
Cheers, you too. Thank you.